China, the epicenter of a potentially deadly virus, has extended the lockdown on more of its cities.
The trajectory of the disease at the moment is not alarming, and people should not be alarmed.
The coronavirus has already claimed the lives of 17 people, but the number is expected to rise sharply.
Whether or not this is controllable, I think the honest answer is we don't know.
It is now official. Canada has its first confirmed case of the new strain of coronavirus.
Officials say the risk of an outbreak in Canada remains low.
Enough is enough. Go home and stay home.
I'm ordering the mandatory closure of all non-essential workplaces in the province of Ontario.
80% of small companies are completely or partially closed in order to stop the spread of COVID-19.
It's businesses like this that make up the fabric of towns and neighborhoods across the country. Their survival is key, not just to the economy, but to the communities they serve.
I remember the day that I understood what impact it was going to have. It was our vet dean coming into my office and saying, I need to talk to you about this, and you need to respond immediately.
There was this heightened level of anxiety that just kind of wafted through everything.
You want people to understand the urgency of the situation without instilling panic.
Everybody seemed to be doing whatever they could.
It made me worried about our company.
How am I going to be able to make my next paycheck for my employees?
How do we keep our employees safe in this environment?
You can't just stop.
We're not going down like this. This is not how it's going to end. We always grew up with making sure grooming and proper attire was worn, and make sure you make an impression first with what people see of you before they ever speak to you.
Since we were young, we always got along. And even as far as being able to work side by side for over 25 years, we still very much get along.
We bring different things to the business, and we complement each other in that way, and I think that helps the day-to-day relationship as well.
We're different guys, but we respect each other's different strengths, for sure.
Guelph is not the same city it was in 1978. There are people that we've grown up with, generations that we've known from, that we've dressed generations of families. The community's been good to us, and we've always been inclined to give back to that community, and it's a two-way street, and I think we're fortunate that we are in Guelph. A big part of our client experience is being in the store, helping, one of us helping out the customer. So that is gone. So how do you move forward from that? There were days where you just wondered if this was ever going to return to some semblance of normalcy. And that was not a very nice feeling.
We had to do something and not just sit there. E-commerce was something that maybe down the road wasn't a high priority,
We felt that maybe it wasn't for us.
For us to make a change to develop our online sales was the mental hurdle, to try to do something different, to bring some of the business back.
It became a question of how, not why or when. We just had to start moving forward. We were learning every day, as we still are.
A few months after we started the online sales, we decided to put a chat option. There's been a few times that I'm on my treadmill at 7:30 in the morning and the chat pops up. And so I take a little pause and I help a customer out during that time.
We have to keep moving forward with it. In fact, we're about to reboot the whole thing in the next 10 days.
One of my first jobs was a business. I was painting houses, basically, in Woodstock, which is where I grew up. And I hired my brothers and I hired my friends, and we painted probably 100 houses in Woodstock over a few-year period. Even to this day, I hate painting. I was retired and lived in New York for 5 years. My dad got sick, so I moved back to Guelph, and I sat on the board of Danby. The CEO resigned. I said, oh, I can go in and run that. And I would not have done it if it wasn't at Guelph. So then when the ownership group said they wanted me to sell the company, I said, how much for? And they told me. I said, great, I'll take it. When you first hear about the pandemic, you think, oh, this is like SARS, which we lived through, and it was like, oh, a little bit of inconvenience, a little bit of hand sanitizer out, and then 3 months later, it's all run out. Nobody's using it anymore. But fairly early on, I did realize this is a real serious pandemic, so it made me worried about our company and how would we keep our people employed and what would it do to the economy and all of that sort of thing.
We had no idea how long the pandemic would last for. We didn't know what it meant for the events that we normally hold in person. We didn't know what it meant for the content that we had planned over the months that were to come. And so we had to make decisions that were hard to make.
Being willing to make an effort to overcome obstacles instead of just giving up and going home at 5 o'clock. A lot of people were still doing emails at 7 or 8 or 9 o'clock at night because you'd think the workload would be less, but somehow it seemed to be even larger.
So how do we keep the business running? How do we keep supplying energy to our customers? How do we keep our employees safe in this environment? And then also, how do we ensure the safety of our customers?
One of the first things we did in March of 2020 was put our team together, a core team, to focus on the situation, and included people from Asia and from Europe who were a little ahead of us in terms of the pandemic and could give us good insight as to what was coming down the pipe and what we needed to do to make sure we were keeping our people safe.
We had to make decisions that we weren't sure if we would regret or if we would be grateful for, and to be okay with that uncertainty.
I think it's really caused us to strip back to what are our core values? What are our core values and what are our core worth? In our case, it's people.
We'd been through a recession before. We'd been through 2009 and all how difficult that was. But now you add this sort of human element into it where people are worried about their health and that of their loved ones. And it just adds a whole nother level of complexity.
It's not just work stress, it's the health stress of your family. And my wife's mom lives in a home in Toronto, but my wife couldn't get to see her for months and months and months. So, there's stress at all levels. I don't think we're out of it yet.
How do you run a company? Well, how do you treat your coworkers? Do the right thing. How do you treat your customers? Do the right thing. In the pandemic, though, how do you make decisions? Well, you do the right thing. And in pandemic, we had to make decisions without as much centralization because we're not all here. We don't all see everything.
From the get-go, we saw some really great collaborations and partnerships related to PPE. We saw manufacturers adapt their lines and create the tools and materials that were required across the community, and most importantly, and especially at the time, for our healthcare workers. We saw partnerships between food providers and food providing organizations and our food industry, for example, come together and make sure that no one went without. A lot of businesses who were able to bring their services or their products online. So a lot of digitization's gone on that I think is for the best, and that will certainly stay and we'll see into the future.
The businesses in the Chamber of Commerce were working together to support hospitals and first responders. I know at the distillery, but we backed off on some things and concentrated on making hand sanitizer, which we gave to the hospital, and eventually, once they were satisfied, we made it available to private consumers and other industries.
We worked closely with the local health unit, who were incredible, by the way. We really liked the idea of setting up a mass vaccination clinic. We were up and running in weeks. We ran for 5 months. We vaccinated over 57,000 people in our community, and I'm really proud of the team for what they accomplished.
We tightened our belt, we put a hiring freeze on, and then we pivoted and to make ventilators, because there was a need for ventilators. There wasn't enough ventilators in Canada, so we ended up making 10,000.
We are well known as a welcoming and inclusive community, and this is when we were tested.
There's this general understanding among so many people here that the more we collaborate, the better the results, and that's very logical, but also pretty amazing, right? That we have that in this community, and we want to keep it that way.
I would say that our business school couldn't thrive in almost any other city, because the city of Guelph and its business ecosystem, I think, has a similar sense of innovation, collaboration, and a commitment to community. And we saw that during COVID. That sense of collaboration, sharing innovations, that sense that we have a community of business and that we are engaged in business for good is what I think separates the city of Guelph's business ecosystem, but also which is why the University of Guelph both fits but also feeds into that ecosystem.
The Guelph business community, Chamber of Commerce, led by example, and certainly, the politicians, whether it's federally or provincially, certainly understood that there was a need and did whatever they could to help that.
It was really important for us to lead by example and to be the beacon that our members needed us to be.
When we were tested, we pulled through. And that was the case of businesses and the city and the community, and it was the case of the university.
RWDI is just four gentlemen's names: Rowan, Williams, Davies, and Irwin. The company started out in the basement of one of the facilities at the university, one of the engineering facilities, built an open channel water flume. And they were very innovative, started to look at how sand, which represented snow, would kind of accumulate around physical models that they submerged in the water. So it just started to kind of perpetuate itself from there, and then got into wind tunnel testing, a lot of physical modeling, then into computational modeling. And we're 650 people approximately, worldwide, 26 offices around the world, various continents, and it's been very exciting. I think in a crisis, a lot of people can get absorbed into the crisis and not try and rise above it to see opportunity and a method to get through the crisis. The very first thing everybody said was, okay, how do we make it work? And what opportunities does this challenge present to us? It's just like any other problem. Every problem has a solution if you take the time to think about it. The tallest building in the world is the Burj Khalifa. No building would have reached that height there. But by working with them and understanding kind of their concerns and showing them how the environment itself was just kind of impacting the region, it allowed us to look at different wind speeds and different wind directionalities, and then work with the designers of the structure to build it to that height. The Texas Rangers Stadium. What we did was we applied a very unique technique. We were able to look at the flight of the baseball and the different wind conditions in the stadium such that we could identify how different features and different orientations of the structure itself would impact the play of the game. Really, the intention was to have it neutral, so it wasn't one or the other. And that can be very difficult because, you know, architects have certain designs in their minds, but different regions are subjected to obviously different environmental impacts, and it's really important to know how those impacts will change the play of the game and change the structure. You can take that exact same structure and put it in a different city, and the game will play completely different than it does in Texas. You can't let them overwhelm you. You have to just look at it as, okay, it does have a solution. It might take a little bit more time to work it through and figure it out, but that's what we do for a living. That's what we do, you know, for all the other projects we're faced. So we looked at it in that way.
Everybody was stressed, whether you're COVID ready or not. There was this heightened level of anxiety that just kind of wafted through everything. We wanted to be that calm presence in the storm. So we helped people with mindset shifts. We gave people an opportunity to support each other and help each other, give each other ideas. So that was a sort of a fun little twist in the middle of it that we threw out there to see, kind of like spaghetti on the wall, to see how it landed for people. But yeah, we tried to use every opportunity to support people. We really went into support mode big time.
When this all started in 2020, we went through all of, remember combing through all of the government documents and everything they were putting out all piecemeal.
Very late at night.
Yes.
You and I on the phone.
And what does this mean? A lot of
the impact, who's it going to impact, how does it impact us?
Yes. Yeah. Is there something we can do, like, overarching for the clients, for like mindset, planning, like how can we, because everybody's going to be impacted.
Flow Office Wisdom really is a one-stop shop for small to medium-sized businesses and nonprofits, and we basically take care of the whole back office.
We provide bookkeeping and finance management, administration and project management, and then communications and marketing management, and we're serving so many different industries. It's so much fun.
There's got to be a way, to create something that we can make a good living at and make an impact in the community.
I think that business is just an extension of our lives in a lot of ways. Throughout the entire pandemic, it's been really important to connect with people online. Like, I have chats with people kind of ongoing every day. I really think that's like a core part of our business, is just being part of that online Instagram community where people can actually talk to me. Every business needs to think about their communication strategy, not just from what content are we posting? You need to be talking to people and having that, voice. So when people do come to find you, they might not follow you or they might not go to your, but when they are ready, everything is ready for them. They can easily figure out what you're offering and what your business is all about.
There's a testing requirement to it, so I gotta make sure that we can actually get it functioning and turned on, and I'd like to run a test order through it and see what the notification looks like on their side.
I think it's a great idea, and I think we gotta just
try it out.
Do it.
You're ready. It's gonna be ready for it.
Yep.
You're gonna see the site next week.
Good.
What's the next thing? What is the next thing someone can expect when they actually enter the door?
Well, once we've had that conversation and if we've narrowed it down, usually the one of two things happens. We can try some garments on, and in other cases we go to our trusty fabrics over there and we start kind of helping them narrow it down. I know somebody I want an aqua colored suit.
Okay.
First you have to determine what aqua means to this person, because color is very perceptive in a lot of ways and subjective. People can make it more.
The whole conversation about color.
So color, And then you could go from there, you go into the linings. And you can, there's a, you know, depending, and this is where guys can have a little bit of self-expression. Okay, here you've got a 16th pick stitch here, a quarter. It just refers to the distance between, distance of where it is on the lapel. This is 1/16 on the edge. There's 1/4, so it's further in on the lapel.
Okay.
I'll show you what it looks like. Here's a good example right here. See, this suit already has a pick stitched edge on it. You see the little pick stitch in it?
Yes.
Now, in this case, in most cases, it's going to be tone on.
If you're able to take what you're doing at a local level and make it accessible at a larger scale, then there's a huge opportunity there. E-commerce is a great tool that you're able to connect your product or your business to something much bigger than just like who lives in your neighborhood.
How many other menswear stores do you think are doing this, that have the functionality of doing
At the level we're at, probably not many in the country. Not many. Maybe 2 or 3.
Taking that step forward, that forward approach? That's what happens when you're the young guy in the industry.
The sad thing is I keep being the young guy in the industry. It's not good. I was the young guy 30 years ago, too.
Here, leave it out, because I got to take some photos.
All right.
My phone's here.
There's always been development. There's always been innovation going on. We created this ventures or this innovation group, and we said, okay, you know what? Sky's the limit here. Let's try and kind of focus on the broader sense of environmental impacts, but it doesn't have to be necessarily associated with just the work we're doing now. And one of the key things there, again, was finding the right person to lead that group.
I've been building startups for the last, 20 years, and met Mike Sligo, the CEO of RWDI. And the more we got talking, the more we realized we had a bit of a shared vision here of RWDI has this incredible global presence of doing engineering consulting really around the world.
One of the things to do is understand, where is the world going? What will the world need in 2, 3, 5, 10 years from a environmental and holistic perspective?
The hardest part in innovation sometimes is thinking big enough and trying to avoid incrementalism or things that might just make you 10% more efficient or 10% better. And it's a little scarier and harder to think, how do we make this not 10% better? How do we make it 10 times better? But now you've come through a generation of entrepreneurs between Guelph and Kitchener and Toronto who have gone through that experience, who have 10x'd an opportunity. And so this region is great now in that you've got an ecosystem of people and a network of people who have been through that 10x experience and know how to do it. And there's a real collaborative community of those people here helping each other.
That's why we created it, to see how we could help society and apply, the vast amount of intelligence we have in our people here to different avenues.
The Guelph Chamber was really pleased to be able to provide a tool and a resource for businesses who are struggling through the pandemic. Having a tangible, additional tool in the toolbox to keep employees safe, to keep the community safe, to reduce the transmission of COVID has been key. And we know it's the way to open the economy. So as soon as the opportunity was made available to us, we jumped on board. And it's been a really effective rollout. I'm really proud of the Chamber team and the community for stepping up. It's not a compliance tool. It's an opportunity to give confidence to a business owner and an employer, and to give confidence to the employees who have to go home and see their families. The rapid antigen screening program is one tool and service. We're certainly also advocating for additional financial supports from all levels of government. And we're making sure that businesses have the tools, skills, access, resources that they need to be able to stay open and to be able to serve their clients, their customers as safely as possible. And so that we can come together as a community again.
The Sleeman family first came to Canada in the 1830s and settled down near St. Catharines, making beer and then later whiskeys. But they discovered that they needed really great water, and the water in that area started to get polluted. And so, you know, you think pollution is kind of a modern day problem, but it happened in the 1800s too. And so the family came here in the 1850s to move their brewing business here. And the family has been brewers in this community ever since. Now, we did have a little 50-year holiday from 1933 onward when we got caught smuggling to Al Capone, rather careless. But we're happy to be back in Guelph. It's nice to be here. The water is still the best for making beer, and it certainly is very good for making whiskeys and gins and vodkas too.
You are my favorite place to go. You're at the end of my favorite road. Above the rest, you're the best I know.
When we think about running our business, we've always thought of it as a balancing act between the needs of our employees, our customers, our shareholders, and of course our community. So our community is absolutely a key stakeholder. We're as much a part of it as it is a part of us. So it matters where you're located.
You get to be in what's considered, I guess, a small community, but then you get to go around the world and bring your products, bring your services, you know, deal with the best and the smartest people and organizations around the world. And then you get to come back to the community of Guelph, which it almost makes you feel safe when you come back here. And I think that's the way I view it, and that's why I like it so much.
Guelph is that city that just has a big heart. We've got so many resources here in Guelph that people can look to. We've got Business Center Guelph Wellington. We've got Innovation Guelph, just to name a few.
We're a different kind of business. We focus on social enterprises that generate community health and community value. When we approach other businesses and tell them what we're doing and ask them if they're interested in partnering with us, you know, whether that's like being a supplier for us or helping us access equipment for our warehouse, we inevitably get like really positive responses and people wanting to help because they can see the value of using business principles to create community health, and they want to help us with that. We've got this facility that we're sitting in here right now that has been donated to us rent-free, and we've populated it with coolers and freezers and all the things you need to move food around effectively. And a lot of that got generated and produced in the last 16 months because of the urgency of the pandemic.
Our success is tied to the success of the Guelph community. We deliver an energy system. We cannot pick up our system and relocate to another area. Our financial well-being is absolutely tied to the success of Guelph, and for us it's important to look for different opportunities to give back to the Guelph community and the community as a whole.
Early on in the pandemic, it was clearly about testing. We simply didn't know enough about who was infected, how that infection was moving throughout a community, and so we built Songbird on the premise of getting rapid testing out to the parts of the country that weren't totally served by the general public health system. What we've seen as we enter the summer of 2021 is that need shifted. It's become a lot more about people are now returning to spaces, be those workplaces or schools or movie theaters or whatever it might be. How do we keep people safe in those shared spaces? And some of the really hard questions are, we don't even really know how to measure safety. We don't know how to measure what is the likelihood of transmission. And then if you know that, how do you actually get it down to a level that's low enough to make everyone feel safe and able to keep that business functioning as you want? Where Particle One fits in that is really unique to RWI is the ability to quantify that risk and then help someone decide, hey, whether it's a plexiglass shield or a HEPA filter or an upgrade of your HVAC system, which one of those is actually going to help you the most? Which one's going to help you keep you the safest? And having that based in a science-first mindset is really the advantage RWI brings.
There's going to be more viruses, there's going to be more pathogens that we have to deal with. We know as a society we can deal with them. It's not easy. But I think there will be things being put in place that will allow us to deal with it quicker, and that's some of the things we're doing in our innovation group right now, looking at how we can create products and services that will allow society to deal with these types of events if and when they come again.
We're working on the problems that really, really matter. And when we started Ventures, a lot of that was focused around climate change and thinking about the future of the planet. And we really gathered up people that really not just wanted to work on hard problems, they wanted to work on problems that really mattered. And I think that's one of the things that's been one of the secret ingredients to what we're doing here at RWI and Ventures, is the ability to combine really challenging, interesting scientific problems, but also letting people do it in a forum that, if they're successful, it's really going to have a meaningful impact, giving them a sense of pride and putting the world in a incrementally better spot coming out the other side of it.
Good morning, Sidonians. Mark speaking. Up and down. Well, I've got some good news for you. I was able to get some great t-shirts for Ron, and they actually have arrived this morning. So if you're up to it, would I be able to drop them off to you later this morning? Oh, it's our pleasure, and I think the size is going to be perfect. We were able to get something I think will be just great for him. Okay. Oh, it's our pleasure. Anytime. We'll see you soon then, okay? Okay. Thanks again. Bye-bye. Well, they've been a customer probably since really my dad opened up his first shop, or a few years after that. We've known them for a very, very long time. With many families, we've dressed up to 4 generations of some families through this place. So that's another thing that makes a family business unique. For us to come through this whole situation, if we couldn't do it alone. If we didn't have people supporting us on all different levels, we wouldn't make it through. Nobody does things in life alone. You have to have help from others, you know. So we got to sometimes offer a little bit of different service, and it's good. It's, like I said, it's fun, a lot of fun. I think this is it here. Yeah, this is it here. Oh, good morning. So I was able to get 3X in t-shirts for him. So what I did, I grabbed whatever they had colors in stock, and I just grabbed them to give you choice. And then you guys have a look, have them try them, and do whatever you like. You call me whenever it's convenient. There's no rush. That's what I mean. There's no rush, okay? We knew we always had to do e-commerce. I think we just had a bit of hesitation to do it.
It wasn't that long ago I would say, well, let's fix our website, but we're not going to do sell online, but maybe one day we will. And that fast forwarded very quickly to now it changes the way we really handle our in-store business as well. So we've done that, and I think going forward we have to look forward like the same way.
Every business is unique and every business has their own challenges, but it means every business has their own unique opportunities.
The pandemic has had a traumatic effect on all of us. The stress, the wear and tear on staff, faculty, students, community members, as they struggle to get through this as best we can. So I'm optimistic, but we paid a high price.
I think the world's going to rebound extremely strong. I think people have rallied to show the strength that we have as a worldwide community. And let's face it, there's countries that have been way worse off than Canada. But as a worldwide community, I think it's going to be a hugely successful and strong rebound. And I think that will go for many years.
We are not taking our eye off the ball. As far as we're concerned, we're still in this. We still need to make decisions in an uncertain time. We are not planning at this brewery or at the distillery for a return to normalcy for another 12 months at least.
I do have high hopes for our recovery. I have high hopes for where we're going to end up and continue to be and show up as we move forward.
It's not just about supporting a local business, it's about creating a community that's resilient and where the money is cycling through and building on itself, right? I get it, it's a global economy, but the more we can intensify the commerce and the business transactions in our community, the richer everyone becomes, not just financially, but in every other way.
My outlook for the next year or two is actually really positive. Inventory levels are super low, demand is high, and once these supply chain issues get worked through, we're going to be in for a period of sustained high levels of production. It'll take years to fill the pipeline back up.
In comparison to other communities, I think we're doing a great job.
It was a huge trial of the self to go through the pandemic and documenting like how this whole shift has happened, where from a business perspective things had to change because how else were you going to keep doing business? Like, we still need to connect with people so we can sell things.
I think it's always a challenge, but as long as we change with the times and provide services and product that the customer wants, I think there will always be a place for us.
We love Guelph. We love the city of Guelph. Guelph really helped create what Flow is today. Our roots are here. The community here is the backbone for why we've been so successful, really.
The last 18 months plus has shown that anything is possible, and there's a lot of opportunity and potential that exists right here in our community in Guelph.
Change means opportunity, because it's not going to be the same world that we lived in. It will be slightly different, and just figure out what those changes are and capitalize on them.